What's going on, world? DS1 Ross back here. Sheep Stay Sleep TV. Sheep Stay Sleep Live. Appreciate everybody. Peace to Marquita. Appreciate you for tuning in. And tonight, try not to stay that long, but tonight I want to talk about the prison within. The prison within. Y'all all know, you know, my motto is heal before we build. And tonight I just want to kind of expound on that and begin to break down what we need to heal from and how do we become broken, um, dysfunctional, problematic, all those things that affect our relationships. So tonight I'm going to talk about the prison within and how within your mind and within your heart you can become imprisoned due to certain things. And tonight I'm going to specifically talk about trauma. Grateful and blessed. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Whoever's coming in, please make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit that like button, y'all. But like I said, tonight we're going to talk about trauma. Specifically, shout out to Miss Nat Hunter. I appreciate you. But the prison within is created. Black Horseman Productions, shout out to you, bro. The prison within is often created from past traumatic situations. And this is why they say, we suffer from PTSD. And, usually when you hear that, it's in the terms of us dealing with trauma, dealing with slavery. But a lot of us, you know, we don't really attach ourselves to that. So we're going to go even deeper than that tonight, and we're going to just deal with trauma and how our past experiences in life has created trauma within us, and it keeps us locked in. Shout out to Annette B. See, trauma is what creates the prison within. That's what trauma does. And we don't understand how much our past traumatic situations create how dysfunctional we are today. We really don't understand how important we address trauma in our lives. See, when I say we got to heal before we build, we have to go back and heal those situations. Peace to the God, John Doe. We have to go back in our lives and find out where did we think the source of these issues stem from. Because a lot of the issues that we deal with each other comes from things that led up to you dealing with this person that you're dealing with now. And a lot of people that we deal with and come across, we have to deal with their unresolved trauma. So we have to understand that nobody that we deal with is going to be perfect. You know, a lot of us like to say, oh, well, I'm not dealing with this woman and have to take on her problems. Then guess what? 9 times out of 10, you really wouldn't be able to ever deal with anybody because everybody suffers from trauma. Everybody. Some people just know how to deal with it, and some people don't. But there is a lot of people who are dysfunctional because they've never addressed the trauma in their life. See, people like to run from those things. This is why you hear people saying they deal with their demons or they're fighting demons. Those are just thoughts. Traumatic thoughts that constantly replay in your mind that you try to run from when you need to run towards them. You need to address them, because if you never address these issues, you are going to stay locked in. And when I say locked in, I mean locked in the same type of relationships. You're going to always get the same type of negative results from anything you try to do. What you do is you stay stuck in a certain mindset. You stay stuck in a certain type of feeling with inside yourself. You never truly become free. You will never be truly happy. Peace to Watanya. Make sure y'all hit that like button, fam. I appreciate it. See, we have to understand that. You have to free yourself. Nobody can free you from your trauma. Nobody could unlock those gates in your mind and in your heart. You have to do that. And this is the prison that's within us. Ladies, if you keep running into the same guys all the time, if you keep running into the same type of guys all the time that keep doing you a certain type of way, there's something within you that keeps allowing yourself to be attracted to what those guys are bringing to you. There's a trauma within you that you haven't resolved. And see, one thing we gotta understand too, shout out to Jaquel, peace to you. One thing that we have to understand is that sometimes you may get into a relationship, and this goes for men too. I'm not just talking to the ladies. You may get into a relationship that teaches you that you need to address your trauma. That crazy relationship may show you that something is really wrong with you and that you need to self analyze and self check. So the whole time you thinking that this person is so bad for you when they're actually just showing you who you are. And you may need to look at the situation in that way. You see? Yeah, I do know a lot about this because I pay attention to myself. And I had to heal from some things myself. See, everything that I say because I've experienced it. And healing is a process. Just understand that too. When I say heal before we build and addressing your trauma, this is shit that may take years to resolve. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. So understand that too. This is not a quick fix. This is a process. And at the end of it, you're going to come out a better person. You're going to come out a better person. And that's what life is all about. Striving to be a better you. Because the better you are for yourself, the better you can be for other people. And the happier your life will be. Because you can have all the outer things. You can have all the finances. You can have all of the material. But if you're not happy with inside yourself, none of that shit really matters. You see? Happiness is the true currency. Everybody say they want to be free. Free from what? You have to free yourself from stress, from depression, from unresolved hurt. You have to free yourself from this. Because there's a lot of things that went on in people's childhoods that went unresolved, and it hurt them. And then they live with it and live with it and live with it and live with it and become adults and become dysfunctional. And then they get into relationships where those same traumatic situations play out in their life. And it continues to happen. It continues to happen. And why do you think it continues to happen? Because you haven't addressed the issue. So what do? We like to blame other people. We like to blame other people. And not to say the person who hurt you is not their fault. We not even going to sit here and say that. Because the person who hurt you is at fault. But are you going to continue to let the people who hurt you, are you going to continue to let them control your life? Because if you don't move on from it, that means that they have a control over your life. They rule you. They are your God. And for some of us, pain, hurt, depression, stress is our God. We live for that shit. We don't feel good about ourselves unless we dealing with stress. I know this for myself. We don't feel good unless it's something going wrong. And what that does is that makes it hard. It makes it hard for us to feel happy. During the times where you supposed to be happy, it's like it's hard for us to be happy. It makes us hard to smile. It makes it hard to enjoy yourself because you always have some of that stuff circulating in your mind. It's hard for you to let your guard down and just live. And we got to understand that. We really do. We have to understand how important trauma can rule over us. Because that's what controls the prison within. That's what keep you locked in. Once you overcome certain traumas in your life, you will no longer be locked in your prison. Then you can live life. Then you can experience things. See, a lot of us was raised to think that we are not supposed to get hurt. Nobody's supposed to hurt your feelings. Nobody's supposed to say things you don't like. You know? So when those things happen to us, it's like a traumatic situation. Like, oh my God, how could you say this to me? Oh my God, how could you do this to me? When we got to understand that in life, things are going to happen. Now, some things are worse than others, and some things shouldn't be warranted to happen. But in life, those things are going to happen. And it's up to you to keep allowing those things to happen to you to rule over you, to stop you from enjoying life. A lot of us is not enjoying life. And that's the issue. That's the real issue. Yo, let him talk, bro. Let him talk. He just, he just showing that he's here to listen. Don't even block him. Let him talk. So we got to understand that the prison within is something we really need to free ourselves from. A lot of us like to shout out to my man Dollar Skills on the check-in. A lot of us like to talk about, oh, we need to be free from white supremacy and things like that and the system and all of that. Yeah, I talk about that too. But just imagine If white supremacy ended tomorrow, just imagine, and all black people was given a fair share like everybody else in the world, then what we do, then what we would do, what would we do then? What would we do then? If black people had the same shot as everybody else in the world, if we were not marginalized in no way, shape, or form, imagine that. Then what we would do, we would still be fighting each other. We'll still be killing each other. You know why? Because of the prison within us. The prison within us. See? See, we got a nigga in the chat right now that wants my attention. He wants my attention. See? He wants my attention. He wants my attention. See, he has a problem. Cause he know he already had that chance. Now he wanna talk tough. This is what, see, the prison within. Perfect example. Perfect example of a dude who has a problem with himself. He watches all my streams, but he acting like somebody running from him. This dude just wants attention and he wants to come in here and stir shit up, when he could go do a live stream on his own platform and say what he say. But he wants my attention. Do y'all see what I'm talking about? Do y'all see what I'm talking about? This dude watches all my streams, but he want to come in here and talk shit now and act like he's proving a point when he damn well know he's not proving no point. But this is the type of shit he do. Because he has a problem with himself. The prison within. He needs to come over here and talk shit to feel validated. See? Come on, man. And this is the problem with us. This is the problem. We have unresolved problems with ourselves. Why do you think there's so much hatred going on between us? And I'm not talking about hating. I'm talking about hatred. Because a lot of people got hatred within themselves. And it comes from situations that happened. Like you may have gotten bullied growing up. You know, if you a little short guy and you used to get bullied growing up, as you get older, you may have hatred for guys who are bigger than you because you used to get bullied. So you walk around with this extra tough exterior where you always feel like you gotta prove a point because you used to get beat up. You see? There's a lot of women who have issues in relationships with men because of things that happen to them by men or by boys that they used to deal with. A lot of these women now are more masculine because the fact that they were dealing with men who used to abuse them. So now they'll fight you just to protect themselves because they used to get beat on. You got women who have issues with being faithful because they got cheated on so much, they figure, hey, I might as well cheat first. And it's the same thing with men. Then we wonder why we can't have healthy relationships. We can't have healthy friendships. It's because of those things. And we forget. See, the thing with trauma is the way your mind works is whatever you don't want to deal with, you suppress it. And it becomes subconscious. So you don't even realize that you living out suppressed hurt. You don't even understand that. That's why you attracted the type of person you attracted yourself to. But it's hard to see that because you just looking at it like, damn, they did me dirty. But you put yourself in a position to get done that way because you didn't pay attention to certain signs. And the reason why you ignored it is because if you would have really paid attention, that would have brought you back to what you've been running from, which is that suppressed hurt. You see? And this is the problem that we have. This is why our relationships between each other is so dysfunctional, man. It's dysfunctional because of the trauma. And we lock ourselves in these jails. Like Brother Rob said, in these open jails. You wonder why the youth act so crazy? Because they're dealing with a lot of unresolved hurt. They're dealing with being let down, being lied to, being abused verbally, physically, emotionally, being told there'll never be nothing, being treated like they'll never be nothing, or they are, or they're not nothing. This is why the youth is so crazy and violent. It's because they're dealing with suppressed feelings that they are not allowed to show. A young black man is not allowed to show that his feelings is hurt because then he'll be called a female. Oh, you can never show that you hurt. You can't raise little boys like that. Because if you raise a little boy that never to show his feelings, he's going to have rage issues where he spazzes out. When he become emotional, he wouldn't know how to express himself. And you know how he'll express himself? By hurting somebody or by hurting himself. Same thing with the young girls. This is why the youth is messed up. Nobody talks to them. They're stuck in their own prison. Why do you think the average kid that you may reach out to, before they open up to you, the first thing they'll tell you is, you don't understand. You don't know. You'll never know how I feel. You don't care. See, those are all statements of them trying to not bring up that trauma. They don't want to talk about it. This is why I always make it my duty to talk to the young guys that I'm cool with. I don't just run around and preach. But if me and you could chill, I know that I could get your ear. And I talk to them. And we have deep conversations. Because I want to know where your head at. I want to know where your heart at. Exactly, Dollar. You know? And a lot of when you sit down and you actually talk to these younger people, they tell you that nobody talks to them. Nobody wants to talk to them. And this is the problem. This is why they're so violent. Because what they're doing is they're crying out for attention. They're crying out to be heard. They want certain things to stop. A lot of these kids don't like to be embarrassed. So this is why they go get a gun if they lose a fight. When losing a fight or being embarrassed is part of life. That's something that's going to occur. It happens to everyone. It's something that's going to happen. You see? But when you always feel like somebody's making fun of you, or you're the butt of somebody's jokes all the time, you begin to build up a complex. And then as you get older or as time move on, you start to say, I'm not going to let nobody embarrass me. The next person who embarrass me, I'm going to hurt them or I will kill them. Because they don't want to feel that feeling of being embarrassed. When they needed somebody to step in and talk to them and let them know that this is part of life. Everybody slips and falls and people are going to laugh at them. But nobody's sitting there and telling them this. And these are the same people who grow up and become dysfunctional adults. They grow up and become dysfunctional adults because they feel like nobody's supposed to say nothing about me. Everybody is supposed to say something nice about me. Peace to my brother Gab Talk Media. You see? And see, we got to understand that if these children are growing up and they're thinking like this, they're going to grow up and be weak. And this is why you just had this person in my chat room coming in here trying to prove a point because he's weak. He's coming to try to prove a point that he know can't be proven. But he's coming in here trying to prove a point so he could feel good about himself. And this is the problem. We gotta understand how deep this shit goes, man. A lot of people are crying out for attention because they didn't get attention when they were young. They probably got looked over, especially if you grew up and you got brothers and sisters. A lot of times you got looked over. So you grow up and become an attention whore. And you want to run around and be seen and be heard by everybody and make sure everybody see and hear you. And when people don't see and hear you, you do some outlandish dumb shit to be seen and be heard. Because you just want to be recognized. You just want somebody to give you attention. Because if you're not getting that form of attention, you don't feel good about yourself. You're exactly right, Brother Rob. But if you're afraid to get to know yourself, and the way you get to know yourself is by addressing the issues you have within yourself. This is why knowledge of self is hard to get through to these youngins or to people who are broken. They don't want to get to know themselves. They're afraid. Because guess what comes along with that? Accountability. Responsibility. Saying, I'm responsible for this happening to me. I must hold myself accountable for keep putting myself in these bad relationships. To keep hanging out with bad people that's going to give me bad results. I'm responsible for that. So whatever happens behind me putting myself in this position, I must hold myself accountable. That's hard. That's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. That's not easy. That's a hard pill to swallow. It is. A lot of things that people suffer from, they don't like to admit it comes from things that happen to them, and they just use it as a mechanism to protect themselves. They don't understand that because they don't want to face themselves. Like Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror. You got to battle with the man in the mirror. Before you can address that beast that we like to talk about that's in the world, you need to address the beast within you. Have some peace within self. And this is a process that we all need to go through. So no matter how many goddamn economic plans black people make, no matter how much we talk about white supremacy, no matter how much we talk about oppression, whatever we like to talk about, if we don't get right within ourselves, none of that shit won't matter. Because guess what? Like I said, if white supremacy ended today, do y'all really think black people will have their shit together? Do y'all actually think we would be able to still do business with each other and get along with each other? No, because we not right within ourselves. We haven't healed from things. We haven't addressed our trauma. You wonder why these black women are on YouTube talking a lot of shit about black men? Because a lot of black men have hurt these women. A lot of black women have been molested and raped by black men. That's why they don't trust us. That's why. And that's not to say they shouldn't trust all of us, but that's the basis of it. But they're not going to say this. They're going to react and respond out of anger and keep telling us they hate us. But they'll never tell us the real reason why. They'll never tell us it's because they was touched as a little girl. They will never tell us that. The black women hating black men, all these black men who run around on their platforms and spew hatred towards black women, they'll never tell you the real reason why they hate black women. They won't tell you because they used to get abused by their mother. Their mother used to tell them that they wasn't shit because their father wasn't around. They'll never talk about how they used to get physically abused. They'll never tell you they got a problem with black women because the woman who they was in love with when they was a little kid never liked them. So they blamed all black women. And they don't want to address this. They don't want to address it. They'll just keep spewing this hatred. And it all comes from trauma, traumatic experiences. When my dad was growing up, because my grandmother, she had 4 children. But my dad, younger brother, who was the middle brother, he got killed when he was 16. He got killed in a fire. And my dad, he didn't express this to me until I got about 19 or 20 years old. But from the time I was 16 up until I was about 18, 19, my dad used to make me come in the house at a certain time. I had a real early curfew as a teenager. And I used to always wonder why. Because I partied a lot more as a teenager than as a grown-up. And I used to always wonder why I had to come in the house earlier than all my friends. I had a 2 o'clock curfew. 2 o'clock. This was on the weekend. I could be anywhere in the city, anywhere in New York City. I had to make sure I was in the house by 2 a.m. Now, mind you, we clubbing. We got fake IDs, all that. So we clubbing, or we paying to get in the club. You know? Now imagine you got to be in the house at 2 a.m. We in the clubs. The party don't really start jumping till 1 o'clock. So imagine an hour later, I got to make sure I'm home. I got to leave my friends, make sure I'm home. But years later, like I said, around 19 or 20, my dad told me he put that curfew on me because he was afraid I was going to lose my life. Like my uncle lost his life hanging out with his friends. Trauma. He was traumatized. He thought he was going to lose his son like he lost his brother. He was traumatized. He was traumatized. You see? So you see how trauma could go so far? Look how far it went. It went from his younger brother up until his son. You see? And he expressed to me years after that he was afraid for me. He was afraid. It's trauma, man. It's trauma. So we have to understand how real trauma is real. It's real. It's not nothing made up. See, a lot of times I hear on YouTube when we talk about trauma, we want to go back to slavery. No, let's talk about the traumatic experiences you dealt with as a kid, you dealt with as a teenager, or you may even dealt with as a grown-up. Let's talk about those experiences and how that shaped and molded your thought process, your emotional stance on things. Let's talk about that. Because see, that's more important. That's more conducive to society now and how we deal with each other as black folks. You wonder why black men don't get along? Because we have a lot of trauma that we haven't addressed. Why you think we have egotistical problems? A lot of issues that black men have between each other is nothing but an ego match. We trying to prove who tougher. When really we need to be sitting down and having a conversation. You see? But we'll never get to that because first we got to prove who's tougher than who. And that's the problem. Trauma is the number one thing we need to address to get over ourselves, man. We need to get over ourselves. And it's hard because it's like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow. Because you know what suppressed trauma does? You know what that creates? It makes you complacent and it makes you content. It makes you feel good. Ignorance is bliss. You not knowing makes you happy. And at the end of the day, it's willful ignorance. Because a lot of us see shit, but we ignore it. We ignore it until it's come back and it's staring in our faces. And see, the first thing we got to do to start addressing our trauma is first understand that there's an issue at hand. We got to understand that we're suffering from an issue. If you keep acting like nothing is wrong with you, something is just wrong with other people, that right there is the problem. Something is wrong with everybody but you. That right there shows you have a problem. Because how do you keep attracting all these people around you with all these issues, but you the motherfucker with no issues? You the main motherfucker with issues. That's why you attracting all of these sick people to come around you. But it takes a certain type of person to admit that. See, a lot of people don't want to admit that. Say, damn, what did I do? What did I ignore? And we gotta start being real with ourselves, fam. We really, really do. So it starts with that. Being real with ourselves and admitting that, yo, there's a lot of things in my life I need to adjust. So we could go get the loans for the banks. We could go and do all of this as black people. But as long as we are not right within, like Lauryn Hill said, how we gonna win when we ain't right within? How are we gonna win if we are not right within? Because guess what? If we do everything that we want to do, that a lot of people get on their platforms and talk about black people need to be doing, we would turn around and put ourselves back in the same mental slavery that we were supposedly getting out of by doing certain things. Because we ain't right within. See, us not being right within is what contributes and continue to feed this oppressive system. We buy the trinkets that we buy to hide our issues. You see? We buy all of the extra materialistic bullshit we don't need to hide who we are, to hide the real problem. See, most people who have a shopping addiction, who like to go out and buy clothes and buy shit all the time, is because that's the shit they sleeping with at night. So they using the material stuff to replace their happiness, their loneliness. A lot of people are lonely. So they work and take their money and go buy sneakers. Every time you turn around, they in the mall. Because they want to look good. Because they really unhappy. Because you ain't got to go to the mall every goddamn week to look good. You see? But they do that to cover shit up. It's a cover up. It's like makeup. You see? And this is why they don't want us to address our traumas, because if we begin to do that as a group of people, if black people would just begin to do that, consumerism will die, because we will begin to stop consuming shit, because most of us are impulsive spenders. The fast food restaurant industry will die because we wouldn't be thinking about eating fast food. You see? And it definitely do, Brother Rob. You absolutely right. It has to be cultural. It has to be built in our culture. But it has to start with a group of people who's willing to sacrifice things. A group of healed people who's gonna make those right decisions. So over time it could be ingrained into our culture. Just like certain people are ingrained into our history. But it's never gonna work if we don't address the trauma. How we gonna win if we ain't right within? See? Lauryn Hill, that whole album was a healing session for her. Just like they got the book, The Miseducation of a Negro, she named her album The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. She was telling us that we need to get right with ourselves. We are miseducated on who we are as a person, not just as a people, but we're lost as persons, as individuals too. We are not operating at our full capacity as people, as a person. We're not doing that. As individuals, we're not doing that. That's why we say we're a broken people, because we're broken as individuals first. There's a lot of shit we haven't came to terms with. And we keep running from it and keep running from it. Why you think they keep making more and more products? So we could continue to consume. So we could push our traumas further and further back. See? A lot of people like to say, oh, I'm not broke. I got a job. Well, what about your dreams? What about your aspirations? What about who you trying to become? You're not your job. You're a person. What about you? Does your job define you? Who are you? See, people like to use things to represent them and they don't represent themselves. That shows that they're dealing with trauma. You see? And we got to understand that this is a problem. It's a very big problem, man. I'm going to say it again. How we going to win if we ain't right within? Lauryn Hill. Go back and listen to that album. That album is epic. That's one of the greatest albums ever. Go back and listen to the words. Listen to the lyrics in the songs. That album is therapy. It's therapeutic. See? So I appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. I definitely do. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. The prison within. The prison within. And we're locked in these inner prison, man, due to trauma. Unresolved trauma. Unresolved issues. Past family issues. A lot of us don't even get along with people in our family. We come from dysfunctional families. And for some people that hurts. For some people it does. Exactly, Brother Rob. That's why propaganda is so powerful. Because they use that to blind us of our trauma. And that's how they keep us controlled. Because it takes your mind off what you really need to be focused on. So I appreciate all y'all for tuning in, man. I definitely do. Shout out to my brother Dollar Skills. Shout out to Brother Rob. Shout out to Chef JT. Exactly, Dollar. And that's where you become a prisoner at, in your heart and your mind. Shout out to Annette B. Shout out to Information Man. Good looking on the check-in. See who else up in here. Shout out to Madon Kemet. I appreciate you. Gab Talk Media. I appreciate you. My brother Jaquel Thomas. I appreciate you. Ty Brown, as always. With Tanya Jones, I appreciate you. Living Soul Journey, I appreciate you. I'm broke, nigga, I'm broke. Mad Head Doctor, I appreciate you. Elm City, I appreciate you. Marquita, I appreciate you. Truth Hurts, I appreciate you. John Doe, I appreciate you. Right, positive is inner self-worth. That's a fact. Miss Nat Hunter, I appreciate you. Grateful and blessed, I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Let's stream. Thanks for tuning in, Grateful and blessed. I appreciate it. I really do. As always, man, this is what I like to come and talk to the people. I like to come and talk to y'all and give y'all a real message, man, as much as I can. You know, Sheep Stay Sleep TV is about allowing people to be who they are, but the wise ones who are woke, I want them to hear. You know, if you have an ear, let them hear. Home Tizzy. You already know. Home team. Promote what we want reality to be. Take focus off what is not working and negative. Exactly, Brother Rob. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. That's speaking things into reality. Promoting what we want. And everything else is obsolete. That's a fact, man. So I appreciate all the love and support. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to Sheep Stay Sleep TV to stay in tune with me. Um, I will be back tomorrow with another bill. Um, I'm gonna start doing streams more often. I know I'm not really consistent, but I will be trying to come back more and more often to bring out some more content and you know, try to get us thinking on a different level. You know, let's stop being so carnal thinking and try to be as spiritual as possible. Try to deal with more of what's going on within instead of without. So I appreciate the love and the support. I'm your host, DS1 Ross. I represent Sheep Stay Sleep TV. And remember, we got to heal before we build. And one of the first steps, one of the main steps we have to do, rather, because this is not the first step. The first step is admitting that we're broken. But the main thing we have to do is address our trauma so we can open up these gates or these prisons that we are locked in as a people. Let's free ourselves, man. Let's free ourselves so we can properly build solid relationships. So the other things that we want to do, like create a black Wall Street, like have black businesses that support each other and that's thriving and creating institutions and doing all of those things, we first have to heal. We first have to do that. We have to heal and mend our differences within ourselves and then mend the differences between people. Now, all differences are not mendable, so you just leave those people alone. But the like-minded ones, you try to build with them as much as possible. But the first thing we got to heal within ourselves and try to be better for ourselves so we could be better to one another. And then the next step is creating an infrastructure, creating a government, and all those other things. But if we skip step one, step two won't even matter. So like I said, appreciate all the love and the support. Hit that like button if you haven't. Subscribe, and we out.